What is up, guys? LPM Tech here, and today I'm going to be talking about some of the most commonly heard of smartphone myths out there right now, 6 to be specific. And a lot of these will probably surprise you once you find out that they're not true, because I know that they surprised me. So to start off, myth number 1, overcharging. Now, it used to be true that if you charged your smartphone after it got to 100%, the type of battery that it had and the type of technology available would not be able to prevent it from being overcharged or filling the battery to the point that it actually damages the health of the battery. While that may have been true in the past, it is definitely not true anymore, because nowadays we have protective measures to prevent that from happening. The smartphone knows when it needs to stop accepting a charge because it's a smartphone. It's smart. So myth number 2, having your screen color black in order to try and save power. Now, there is some truth to this. For example, AMOLED or OLED displays actually do save power when the color of the screen is black, because these displays use individual pixels instead of a backlight and pixels that change the color of the backlight to display an image. So those pixels actually turn off while it's black, but most smartphones actually have an LCD display. And what an LCD display, how an LCD display works, is it actually has a backlight with another layer of pixels over that backlight that change depending on what color they want to display or what color the phone wants to display. And so it actually uses more power having a black background or keeping everything black, because the pixels have to use more power in order to block out that white light. So if you have an LCD display like an iPhone, like on iPhones, it's actually power saving to leave it white, have a white background. Now, myth number 3 that has also bugged me is the myth that more megapixels equals a better camera. Now, that all megapixels do is it shows you how sharp it is the more you zoom in. And so while lower megapixels means you can't zoom in quite as much, I even have personal experience with this myth, because the old phone that I used to have was a Samsung Galaxy S6, and although it had a 16 megapixel camera and this one has a 12 megapixel camera, this is probably the best camera I have ever tried. So you can't always base your camera quality solely on megapixels. Now, another myth, the 4th myth that is commonly known, is the myth that closing apps saves battery and makes your phone run faster. Now, this one is probably one of the more known myths, because you constantly see people closing all of their apps. They'll go here and they'll just close every single one of their apps, and they think that they're saving power and making their phone run faster when they're actually doing the opposite. A lot of these apps, all that this does is it stores your apps on the RAM. None of those apps are running in the background, and even if they are, they're using less power than when you close them, because if those apps want to run in the background, they have to use even more power when they open back up in order to stay open. So you're really just, using more power and making your phone run slower than it would be if you just left it alone. Myth number 5 is the myth that Android is less secure than iOS. Now, this may have been true in the past, when Android was still kind of, not as, I'll just say not as good as it is now. And iOS did used to be a lot more secure than Android in the past, but nowadays, especially with Samsung devices and Knox, you are just very rarely going to get any malware or viruses on your device unless you go to online sources and download, apps from websites that you don't even know. But that's rarely ever the case, especially with apps out there now like Lookout and such like that. And so the final myth is also a battery-related myth, and it's the myth that you have to let your battery drain completely before charging it in order to save the health of your battery. This is also not true at all. It actually decreases the health of your battery. If you want to be really technical, the best way to keep the health of your battery healthy or good is to actually let your phone drain to about 20 or so percent and then only charge it to about 80 or so percent. And while that does technically increase the health of the battery a little bit, there's really it's really not worth the trouble to go through doing that, because even if you charge your phone normally, it's not going to affect the battery whatsoever. Because like I said, your phone knows when to accept a charge and when it needs a charge, and it's just not going to affect anything the way you charge your phone. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to clear up a few of the myths surrounding smartphones in the hopes that you will better have an understanding of how your smartphone actually works. And as always, like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching. See you in the next video.